Who are you?
All right, Paul Graham. Pleased to meet you.
And you're the guy who runs YCombinator. You just helped launch 36 or 39?
36.
36 new companies.
39, man. 36 is hard enough.
And it was wall to wall.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a
it's
seat.
It's getting pretty full here. Well, you got to get here earlier.
Yeah. Tell me, for people who don't know what YCombinator is, I mean, people in the Valley know what YCombinator is. What is YCombinator?
We fund a large number of startups with a small amount of money all at once, twice a year.
And then we sort of less than $20,000.
Yeah, less than 20. Average is 17 and a half. And we sort of figure out what to do first, right? If they've got some sort of small idea, we figure out what the larger implications of it are. If they've got some big, vague idea, we try and figure out what to do first, right? Get something done and launched. If they're already launched, maybe launch the next thing. And then, at the end of it all, we introduce them to a whole bunch of investors. The event you just came to, Demo Day.
It was a lot of fun. Great companies. I got a whole bunch on my iPhone that I'm trying out. This is sort of like asking a parent to ask, what's your favorite kid?
Oh no, I can't answer that one.
So do you have that 3 or 4 that we can talk about? Because if we talked about 36, we'd be here for
Well, I
another
can tell
3
you
hours.
who all the investors are jumping up and down about, because that's common knowledge. I mean, it's Hipmunk, right?
Yeah. And what do?
They do much better flight search, and boy, is there a problem where there's room for improvement, right? Like, I actually buy fewer plane tickets because it is so painful to buy them, right?
And what makes it better than Kayak or Expedia or whatnot?
There's a bunch of things. One is the UI is a lot more natural. You just sort of see the results, right? Usually you get a pile of text back, and you, as a human, have to look at all the text and try and figure out what the good flights are. If you have a more visual display, it just jumps out at you, using your reptilian vision, right? The other thing is they're smarter about how they sort them, so they don't show you flights that no sane person would take. You wouldn't think that would be a big feature, but the state of flight search is so backward that actually is a big feature.
What do you do with these companies? Because I sort of see behind the scenes, you're guiding them, giving them feedback. But what
the two big things we do is figure out what they should build, right, and talk to them about dealing with investors. So what we did for the past week is work on the presentations that you just saw here, right? And in some cases, I would sit there with the guys rehearsing over and over and over again, getting it down to the sentence, exactly what to say.
There's lots of different places for startups to go to get this kind of mentoring now. I mean,
more and more
competitors for Y Combinator. What makes you different, and what should a startup who's going to consider joining your class next year or next whatever, what should they think about when they start into a program like this or Techstars or whatever?
One thing that makes us different is how much we know. One of the reasons we've funded such a large number of startups is that's the only way to learn a lot, right? So having funded 208 startups as of this last batch, I now have 208 startups worth of data in one head, right? So when people are thinking of doing something, I know maybe 10 previous cases where people have done similar things, and I can say, well, 9 out of those 10 cases it turned out badly. So don't do that. So I have a lot of data in one head. Another big difference, because we funded so many, is the alumni network is huge. A lot of the reason to do something like this is to become part of the alumni network that goes with it. And our alumni network is now about 450 people, some of them very formidable, actually, since we've been doing it for 5 years.
At boot camp we were talking, and I found it interesting that you try not to fund assholes or people who are not nice.
It started out as a purely self-indulgent choice, right? Because we have to have dinner with these guys every week during the 3 months. You don't want to be hanging out with an asshole. So originally we just did it because we didn't want to deal with people like that. But it turned out to have an unforeseen benefit, because what we're producing by accepting these batches of startups every 6 months, we're creating the alumni network, right?
Yeah.
So we ended up producing an alumni network, a very small number of assholes, for such a large number of ambitious people. And that means the alumni can really trust one another. They can just tell one another their secrets, and with a few exceptions, they can assume it's
I think
safe.
they got the back row seats, right?
Yeah.
What else would you like the world to know about Y Combinator? And you, by
You
the
can
way,
apply.
you do.
We have applications open for the next batch.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. Like, while we're still working with these guys on this batch, applications are already open for the next one, piling up, right? So they can just go to YCombinator.com and apply online.
Give me 2 tips on how to get noticed in that file.
Be succinct, right? Like, don't just blather on ad infinitum, because
Rocky tells me that every day.
if we just see a wallow text, like, we sometimes don't read it all, right? So be succinct, and if there's something really great about you, like, give it to us right at the beginning. Don't give us a lot of build-up. Just tell us what's great about you, because we don't look for any particular thing. We just look for people who have a habit of being great, right? They don't ever have to have done a startup before, Just so long as when they do things, they tend to do them well.
Well, cool. Where do we find you in the world?
YCombinator.com? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
YCombinator.com.
Hacker News?
Yeah, Hacker News. There's links to each on the
And
other.
you're not on Twitter, are you?
No.
You're like one of the few holdouts in Silicon Valley. That's
You know what it
not on
was?
Twitter.
All versions of my name are taken. I can't get a username, right? So,
But Y Combinator's on.
yeah, Y Combinator's on Twitter. So there's a bunch of us who tweet YC stuff that, like, I write longer stuff anyway.
Very cool. And I love your essays.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do for the Valley and startups
you.
around the world. So, thanks.